Hello, I'm Les Moir, and this is More Than a Song, a series made in conjunction with Word and Worship Trust. And we're so happy to be at Mission Worship 2023 live, and we're here with Lucy Grimble, a good friend. And we were just saying how many different places we meet each other and see each other.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, so it's good to have you in Eastbourne.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Yeah,
so good to be here.
Yeah, this weekend's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Excited about who's coming and who's part of it, and again just the diversity of worship leaders here. And we were having a little chat earlier on, Lucy, about when we meet each other, it seems to be in all these different places.
Yeah,
where
totally
you're leading.
different contexts.
Yeah. So I was thinking about the other day when you were leading worship at All Souls, Anglican place, or even at the Royal Albert Hall. Yeah. With the full prom praise orchestra, the symphony orchestra. Yeah. And then in a field at Davis Tent. Other situations, or at the Wembley Arena just recently, and Spring Harvest. Yeah. So what's it like leading in these different congregations, different gatherings?
Oh, I mean, I just count it as such a privilege whenever I get invited into different spaces to lead, different congregations, different networks. I just truly think it's an honour to be invited in to lead. So, I love the diversity. I love getting to lead in different church traditions, and I just think it's so joyful.
Yeah. So, what is your church tradition?
Well, officially I'd say Anglican, although when I was 8 years old, my sort of suburban Anglican church was hit with the Toronto blessing. So we sort of then became, I guess, charismatic or Pentecostal, you could say, but still with Anglican tradition. So I've always had a bit of a blended church experience. And then for 10 years, I went to a church in central London called Commonwealth Christian Fellowship, which was sort of a majority, I would say like a Pentecostal church, basically, led by an American pastor and his English wife, majority BAME congregation. Yes. Very spontaneous and free worship. We had incredible musicians at that church. For some reason, it seemed to attract a lot of professional, gigging musicians. Yes. So Sunday worship was just off the charts. I've sort of been to different churches throughout my life, but I guess my roots, my longest roots, are probably within the kind of charismatic Anglican setting.
Yeah. And the con church, that was they would have long times of worship.
Oh yeah. Sometimes Rod, who was the pastor, would be like, I can't preach today, we've just got to worship, so it'd be like a 2-hour worship service. But actually it was so precious because it really taught us to press in. Yes. It really taught us that there's always more. There's you keep going in worship and you keep leaning into God and you keep listening, and there is always more. So I think there was some, I'm still really good friends with a lot of the people that I met at Commonwealth, and sometimes we just look back at those times of worship and we're like, it was like oil. It was so good. I'm so grateful for that worship experience.
So when did you start to write songs? When did you start to write your own songs?
I was 16 when I started to write my own songs, so not long ago. no, a long time ago. I was 16. I listened in particular to a songwriter called India Ari. And my cousin gave me her album, and she was like, listen to this, I think you'll really like it. And I remember listening to this album and being like, oh my gosh, this woman is so brave. She's so honest, and she just shares from the heart, and she's putting into words things that I'm feeling, but she's like an American woman, and how is this working? So I think it lit like a spark of recognizing how powerful songwriting is, and how songs can just penetrate to a level that other things can't. And so I was like, I just want to have a go at songwriting, mainly to try and get some emotions out. It became a bit of a sanctuary. Songwriting was a real tonic for me, just being able to kind of, just express myself I didn't feel like I could express myself in other ways. So I would just pour it all into these songs, and never ever expected anybody to hear them ever. Like, it genuinely was like a private thing, and just classic girl in the bedroom with a guitar kind of thing. And yeah, that's where it started, in a very, like, I guess, an honest and vulnerable space.
And when did you start to like introduce those songs to other people, or when did you,
Yeah.
as Matt Rivers say, when did you open the door?
Yeah,
to
I
let
had
other people hear them.
Yeah, a good friend of mine when I was at uni, her name was Charlie, and she just like winkled them out of me, because she'd be like, "Go on, play me one of your songs." She used to rap, so she would like do one of her raps, and I would do one of my songs, and she was like, "This is really good. Like, you need to share this." She was like, "Will you sing one at my birthday party?" And so it just, like, slowly by slowly, I feel like it was kind of other people that uncorked me. Like, I just didn't really want to share the songs publicly. So I think it was sort of at the encouragement of just close friends, really, that the door opened. Yeah. And then I started going to Commonwealth Church, actually, and that's where I first led worship. God bless Mike Powell, yes. Dave Powell's dad, my keys player. Mike just sidled up to me one day and he was like, "Do you sing?" And I was like, kind of. And he was like, "Come to a worship practice." So I went along. Amazing. And that's where that started. So, yeah.
I always remember being at Dave's tent when people were singing Great Redeemer.
Yeah.
And the whole tent was loud.
Yeah.
It was loud.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I wonder how Lucy's feeling to hear her song.
Yeah.
Sung in that way. And
it was so beautiful. I mean, Great Redeemer is the only song where I've literally locked myself in a room to write it, because I really felt the weight on it from when I started to write it. And it's a song about the cross. It's a song about redemption. It's a song about the work of the crucifixion and the resurrection. So it's not something that you handle lightly, I feel. And it was a song where I had to have that hit me again personally. I had to get like past what had probably become like a bit cliched to me. Like, you hear these phrases in church all the time, like the resurrection power, the power of redemption, all these things. And I was like, I know they're true. I'm not disputing that, but I need it to like hit me like at a heart level again. So I kind of, I just went to a friend's house and just literally locked myself away with the Bible and just prayed. And I was like, "Holy Spirit, will you like show me like the depths of the cross? Like, will you just reveal something new?" And then I just wrote pages and pages and pages and pages. I did a Graham Kendrick, I had about 20 verses. Yeah, a stack of paper. And I just like whittled away at that song. So I think it's funny with songs, like sometimes you really feel like, handle this one with care. Yes, like, you feel the weight of it. So then I think once I put in the work and I felt like full stop, I think I've written it. Then to hear it in a context like David's tent, it's just all the more powerful.
Beautiful. And then hearing it with an orchestra.
Yeah.
The prom phrase.
Yeah. That was, I mean, I grew up on classical music, so when those two worlds meet, like contemporary worship and classical music, I just get so excited. So that was like, honestly, like a pinch me day.
The symphony, isn't it? Symphony of praise.
It's beautiful. Yeah,
it's good. So we're in a season of collaboration, which I know that you've been, entering, if you want to say that. Yeah. So how was that, moving from like writing a song on your own to writing a song with someone else? So how was the speed dating, or was it?
I was just trying to think who I wrote my first like co-write with. Because like all my Created to Worship, my first album was all, just songs I'd written on my own, and I was very much a solo writer from like, age 16 to kind of mid-20s or something like that. But then I think just sort of friends at church would just be up for writing, and that's sort of where it began. And I think I always loved that as soon as you co-write with someone, you get someone's entire story and journey and history with God,
Yes.
and also their musical heritage and their understanding of the gospel. And I just loved that it was like all of that then gets poured into, you know, the song that you're writing, and I just think it's so enriching. I mean, now it's sort of flipped the other way that I hardly ever write a song on my own. Like, I really congratulate myself if I finish a song on my own these days, because I feel like I do a lot more co-writing. But yeah, it's really powerful. I think it's a really powerful.
But what was it like the first time you did it? Do you remember?
I think it was probably awkward. Probably like, I'm not sure how we make a decision here, you know, like how do you decide which idea kind of, you know, because I think there are some principles of co-writing that are really, really helpful to know if it's the first time you're co-writing. Even down to like, at the time, I just wasn't very proficient on playing keys. Like now I'm a lot more confident and I have a lot more of a mastery of like where you can go and intentional choices you can make. Yeah. Whereas I think when I was first starting out, my palette was a lot more limited. So then, yeah, it's just, then when you bring another person in, it's sort of like, oh gosh, I don't really know which direction to take this in or how to convey the feeling that I'm having. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know, you just stick at it. And I think relationship is really key.
I think that's really key.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember certain writing partnerships, like I would introduce them, the writers together, but one of them they'd always want to go out for coffee. Yeah. And then but they'd be out having coffee for an hour, and I'd have to remind them that they were here to
crack the whip,
write a song. They were here to write a song. You're not just here to write. But from that comes, you know, we talk about that, isn't it? You know, from friendship comes collaboration and. Yeah. So, but it's definitely, it's definitely something that sharpens things. Yeah. So I remember when I worked on the Compassion Art project, you know, with Martin Smith and all the guys, writers, and quite a lot of them had not written on there with someone else. Yeah. But they said at the end that they would never write on their own again, because of what it brought. Yeah. Yeah. So and I think it's, you know, it's like an interesting dynamic, because I think as well in the writing room you've got to know which ideas to fight for, because sometimes you really do feel strongly like, no, I think this is actually how it's meant to go. So, which is where the relationship bit helps, because, you know, being British, sometimes we're too polite and we're like, oh, okay, maybe, and then it's like the song goes down a road, but I think that when you can have that depth of relationship and the writing partnership, that's absolutely beautiful. Lucy, what do you think about when church worship teams write together? Yeah. Because you know the line, people sing their own songs the loudest. Yeah. You know, when you sing about what God's doing where you are. Yeah. Rather than singing about what He's doing. Yeah. In Sydney or California, different places. It's because even if the song doesn't travel far, it's our song. Yeah. Yeah. It's our story.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I mean, Ephesians 5, I can't remember the verse, but you know, encourage one another with psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs. Like, I think more and more I'm recognizing that worship is this tool of just encouraging the body. You know, it's not the end destination. It's one of the tools within kind of the life of church and the life of faith that is so powerful in just encouraging our brothers and sisters. So I think local churches getting together and being like, this is what God has been doing. Yes. What's God been doing with you? Okay, how can we join those together and like write a song that like just celebrates or grieves, or, you know, whatever it is that's going on. So I'm all for that kind of collaboration, definitely.
Yeah, and then from that, because even like you know, I had the privilege of being part of songs like Heart of Worship, and they were written for the Soul Survivor Church. They weren't written to go further. Yeah. And I think that there's a purity about those songs, isn't there? Yeah. Yeah, I think definitely when you're not writing with a purpose in mind other than to like equip
your community. I think that's, I just love the purity of that.
Yeah, fantastic. Lucy, can we go back to talk more about the Symphony of Praise? I felt that when we were talking about it. And because obviously you have been an amazing champion of multicultural worship. Your worship teams as well was had in the nations across it. And then we talked about the orchestra bringing that. It's almost like another tribe.
Yeah.
It's another color, culture into the picture of praise.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've also had the privilege of doing some sort of multilingual writing camps as well. So I was part of a writing camp with a whole bunch of Brazilians out in Nashville. So we were writing songs in English and Portuguese sort of at the same time in the writing room, which is the first time I've ever done that, and it was absolutely amazing because you had to sort of sense check everything and be like, okay, well, what's in Brazil, like what would be the way that you would say that? And I did another one in Holland as well, and it was sort of a similar thing with Dutch. And I think I don't know, I can't imagine not having that experience now, because I think it just enlarges your love for God. It enlarges your heart for the kingdom, and I just think it's a huge privilege to get to hear different perspectives and like no one's got a whole handle on that. Like no one's got the full like picture of multicultural worship and the definition of it. But it's like we have to recognise our part in the world, and we have to be like, the radical inclusion of the gospel. It's like we have to be radically inclusive in the way that we worship, and so I'm all for trying new things. Different instruments, different musical traditions. I just get really excited when I think, what would that sound like? How would worshipping God on, I don't know, like a sitar? Like how can we blend all these things together? But so I love it.
No, we both love it. But it's just that as the church becomes more multicultural, so then our worship has to be, obviously, and also the sound of heaven touching earth.
Yeah.
Every tribe, tongue, and nation worshiping together. Yeah. But I just long to see more of that. Yeah. And and also like when you go to different places like Holland or and I had the privilege of going to Brazil. It actually changed my life. Yeah. So a million people, having this carnival for Jesus on the streets. Wow. And and I need that. We need that. Yeah. We need that carnival. Yeah. Time in our in our praise. Yeah. Here and. Yeah. Yeah, and I think I don't know if this is like wisdom or not, but I feel like in local church context it starts with kind of, I don't know, I'm in a local church now in Devon, and I just have I'm filling in as a worship pastor for a year, and I have just had a bit of an approach of the more the merrier with the worship team, just like let's just like if you want to play, like come and play kind of thing, and let's just make that beautiful harmony. And so I think just inviting people to be part of it. I know that comes with complications in terms of skill and all that kind of thing, but I think there's something about at the local level just making worship accessible and letting people play. I think is really important. I think so too. I mean, the dream was that every congregation had its own sound. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So every congregation. In
theory, it should. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. We can change that. Yeah. Come on. But so that's the dream, isn't it? Yeah. And so your worship sound is made out of the instrument and the skill. Yeah. Whoever that's in the congregation.
Totally. Yeah.
So sometimes, it's, like you say, it's a bit more hard work. Yeah. In terms of the arrangements and a bit more rehearsal for certain people. If you want. Yeah. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it.
Totally. Yeah. I agree.
Right. Last thing, so happy that you were part of the UK Blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that was amazing.
No, you
that
were
was
amazing.
such a bright spot in the like depths of the pandemic. That was like a true highlight. I still remember when the Salvation Army came on, and I just broke down in tears. I was
That's
like,
a moment. That's a moment.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I was actually saying to Jamie earlier on, that just you know, I've been recording worship music for 40 years,
Yeah.
and then the UK Blessing came, and it just went, you know,
Yeah.
it had more impact than anything that I'd worked on
Yeah.
in my life, and then asked God why this one, and I felt the Lord say, I just love unity. You know, Psalm 133, God commands the blessing
Yeah.
on the unity, and
Yeah.
I thought it was such a beautiful picture.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really special.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think, just think you're dead right in terms of the unity and
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm so pleased you were part of that.
Oh, well, thanks for letting me.
But it's great. It's great to chat. And Lucy, so good. So looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Thanks,
great.
thanks, Les.
If you enjoyed it, please hit like, subscribe, and share on this interview and conversation. And God bless you. Hope to see you again.